Okay, very good. So today we're going to talk about communications. So this is getting more into the soft skills that are essential for how we move forward in our career. And so I've got down there, what am I talking about here? What am I doing? I need to cancel this. Let's go back to the beginning. And we'll try it again. There we go. Communication mastery. So that's what we're going to do. We're basically learning about how to communicate. This is, like I said, the soft skills that we have to be able to master if we want to be able to work effectively with others. There are just a few people that we need to communicate with in our life on any given day. You can tell that I was tired when I was putting these slides together, so I left the lorem ipsum in there. But basically, we've got our personal life, the people that we need to communicate with, and our work life, and there's actually a lot of overlap in that. So, well, the essential resource that I recommend, that I really strongly and vigorously encourage you to purchase and read and reread and reread, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Have you all read that book?
Yes, excellent book.
Okay. Have you read it recently? This is one where basically I was looking for a good resource for how do I condense all the things we need to know in communication. And I thought, well, there's the best-selling book of all time in communicating, and it's basically Dale Carnegie's book. I can't say it better than he does, but I figured that, yeah, my father gave me a copy of this book when I was, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. And I remember reading it, and it really had a powerful effect on me. And I've since purchased 3 or 4 or 5 more copies of it. And it's just it's a terrific book. He wrote that. Dale Carnegie was basically, oh, this isn't the one with a picture of him, but he was doing presentations for helping people to improve their career and learn how to do public speaking. He started doing that in 1912, and over the next 24 years, he started writing a little flyer to give to the people who attended his sessions how to communicate. And then that grew into a set of pages, and that grew into basically a small book, and then it grew into a larger book, and then he finally published it. And it's, like I said, one of the best-selling books of all time. And so having read it, you'll probably recognize all of these principles. It's divided up into 4 sections, and what I've done is just taken the principles at the end of each section and put them all together. I will say that that if you look at the titles of each section, he is a master of clickbait. If you look at the chapter header, if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. And so it's like, ooh, what is that about? Well, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Okay. If the big secret to dealing with people, oh my gosh, I have to know that. Well, give honest and sincere appreciation. He who can do this has the whole world with him. Well, what is that? Arouse in the other person an eager want. So, it's it's brilliant, brilliant stuff. We can learn a lot from Dale Carnegie, I tell you what. But yeah, if you want to work well with people, you know, criticizing, condemning, and complaining is a great way to not work well with people. You want to appreciate anything people do, and you want to do it sincerely. You don't want to just say stuff. I remember there was when I first started doing theater many years ago, and I was in a community theater that was mainly for kids, and after each scene, when someone came backstage, I said, "That was really good. You did a great job." And one day, one of the kids said, "You say that every time for every scene. It doesn't mean anything anymore." I thought, okay. So I was honest and sincere, but I was also, if you tell somebody you knocked it out of the park every time, even if they, were just doing it ordinary, then they're not going to believe you, and they're going to think you're just, just blowing smoke. And then arouse in the other person an eager want. Well, if you're trying to sell something to someone, then yeah, you basically have to figure out what do they want, and how does what you want to sell them give them what they want. 6 ways to make people like you. Well, if you want to be able to communicate with people, they have to like you. If you like your both in Brazil and the US recently, the politics have been very intense and crazy. And so what do? You just tune out the idiots. Like, I don't care what they have to say. I don't like him. I don't care what he has to say. I don't care what his message is. So yeah, it's really critical for people to like you. And the way to get someone to like you is to be interested in them. What do you have to say? What just be curious, I guess, is probably the best way. My son is brilliant at this. He is a missionary in Africa, and I've gone around with him, and he goes to the slums and the garbage dumps and meets people who are basically on the fringes of life, and he is absolutely fascinated with them and how they live and how they're able to, what does their daily life entail, and he just basically asks a couple of questions, and they get to talking, and it's I don't know, I'm inspired just watching him work. So, and then number 2 is, that's sort of my son's his catchphrase is, "Don't forget to smile." And he is smiling all the time, and people just they gravitate to him. And it's amazing. Even the people that are troublemakers, they'll gravitate to him, and they'll be friendly to him because he's curious about them, and he's always smiling. And he remembers people's names. That is something that I've tried really hard to get good at. I'm not good at it yet. But if you can remember someone's name and drop it in the conversation every now and then, it's so helpful to the conversation, and they will think you're the most brilliant person in the world. And be a good listener. If you get the other person to talk, it's just it's magic. They will. There's a story. I think it's in the book. I haven't reread it for a while. I started rereading it again. But but he talks about Benjamin Disraeli, who I guess there were basically these two British leaders that were at a dinner party, and this woman went to the dinner party, and someone asked, so how did you enjoy it? She said, oh, I talked to, I forget the other guy's name, and he's just the most fascinating person in the world. I mean, he's done so many amazing things, and then Mr. Disraeli, he thought I was the most amazing person in the whole wide world. I just really was thrilled to meet him. He was my favorite. Disraeli is probably one of the most accomplished people in history, and and he is fascinated with other people, and that may well be one of the reasons why he's so doggone accomplished. So and then, yeah, talking in terms of the other person's interest, and what is their other person's interest? Themselves. And make them feel important. Do it sincerely. If you can find something interesting in their life and get them talking about it, you will be their best friend. And that's a great way to get people to like you. When we're trying to make a difference at work, we have to basically, to get the job in the first place, we've got to convince them to hire us. When we're working on a project, we got to convince them that our way is a good way of doing it, and that we've done our research. If you're gonna, very first thing, if you're gonna argue about it, you've already lost. Nobody wins an argument. Was it a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still? So, yeah, and if you point out somebody else as being wrong, oh my gosh, that burns. Holy cow, that no one likes having humble pie crammed down their throat. But if you admit you're wrong, most people are very gracious about it. The ones who aren't, whatever, they don't really matter. But most people will be quick to extend grace if you admit that you're wrong, that you made a mistake. And if you're friendly, then you can avoid the argument. If you start the conversation in a curious way. Let me know what your opinion is. I was thinking about this. This is some of the ideas that I came up with. What do you think? And that opens it up, rather than saying, I looked at this and this is a dumb way to do it, and that's a dumb way to do it. The only real way to do it is my way. Be reasonable. Do it my way. So yeah, if you're able to be friendly, then that gets the job done. Get the other person saying yes immediately. So that's a fundamental sales tactic. If you get them to say yes. So does this make sense? Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. If you had to do it some way, is this one of the ways that you would consider? Well, yeah. Okay. Well, then why don't we consider it now? And if you let them do the talking, it actually helps with the next one, which is letting them feel like it's their idea. You let them talk, you ask a couple of questions that kind of guide the conversation in some way, but you get them talking, and then basically they come up with this brilliant idea that was the one that you were wanting them to have. But as you start discussing it, it's also really critical to see what the other person's ideas are, so you can make sure that it's not just you trying to force your agenda. And you have to be able to understand their position well enough to be able to explain it to them in a way that they agree. So, being sympathetic with their ideas and desires, you need to be able to say, okay, here's where I see your perspective, and here's where I need to, here's the requirements for trying to do it that way. And so when you do that, the other person really feels like he's been heard. And a lot of times the other person just wants to be heard. And they're not really married to their way of doing things. But if they believe that that you understand what they want and that you are taking their concerns into consideration, then they'll be wide open to any approach. And then appeal to the nobler motives. Basically, this is what a good person would do. This is what someone who's thought carefully about it would do. This is what somebody who's wanting to really do their best would do. And so you're a good person and you're always wanting to do your best. So wouldn't this be the best way to do it? Dramatize your ideas. Yeah, basically we're all about stories. Stories are what sell everything. That's why I mentioned my son, because I can tell a story about my son and how he does things. It makes it sort of makes things more memorable if you have a story. And finally, throw down a challenge. Everybody, maybe it's a guy thing, but I think most people, if you throw down a challenge, they'll rise to the challenge. So it's like, I think if you're trying to get your team to start doing TDD and they haven't been doing it, I think that we can probably figure out how to add this into our development practices. I think we can. I think basically y'all could be doing this better than I can by the end of the month. So throw down a challenge, see if they can. Most people rise to a challenge if it's a worthy challenge. And then the final section is on leadership, and we'll be going over this in more detail next time. But how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. That's a high a high claim, but I've never been successful at changing someone else. I'm mainly working on changing me, but I want to be able to help people to grow and become the people they want to be. And so in order to do that, you need to appreciate them for where they are, and you need to appreciate any step they make in the right direction. Navi, you will learn this as your little one grows. That it's really easy to break your kid's spirit by getting on their case, and, punishing them and that sort of thing. But if you encourage them for doing even getting close to the right thing, then they will, at least when they're young, they will go out of their way to try and please you. When they get to be teenagers, then it's sort of, oh, that's what you want? Huh. Hide and watch, I'll do just the opposite. But but if you can get them doing the right thing when they're young, it's a delight. And just praising them for even leaning in the right direction is it's magically effective. If someone has made a mistake, then you'd never want to do that in front of someone else. You'd never want to embarrass somebody. Make it minor and take them to the side and say, this is something I noticed, and you may want to consider thinking about it, and talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. Basically, they talk about the the make it a sandwich. So you have a slice of bread on the top or on the bottom of praise, and then you squeeze in a really thin slice of correction, and then you put another big slice of praise on the top, so that you got your correction sandwich there. And people don't like to be bossed around. I know if you tell me to do something, I tend to dig in my heels. But if you ask me, I'm eager to please. And most people are that way. And if I've done something wrong, something embarrassing, no one likes to have to stand up in front of the group and be embarrassed. But if I've done something wrong, if you give somebody an out, some way to to justify themselves, or say, yeah, everyone does. It's okay. It's not that big a deal. Then it can be you can really win an advocate and somebody who will be your will sing your praises going forward, if you give somebody a way to graciously bow out of an embarrassing situation. I mentioned this before. Praise the slightest improvement, and be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. Just really notice things that are going right and call attention to that, especially in front of other people. This I have found to be magical as well, is that, you're not this kind of person. This is really out of character for you. I always saw you as as someone who turns in their best work, and this isn't what I see here. Is there something wrong? Is there something going on in your life? Because I mean, normally and people will rise to the reputation, the high standards that you see them actually deserving to live up to. And yeah, if somebody makes a mistake, you can say, this is okay. This is not a huge deal. We can overcome this, and let's move on. Then, rather than dwell on it, thing in the book of Proverbs, it's got a number of quotes about the misery of living with a nagging spouse and someone who's constantly running you down. It's just, if you can downplay the problems and focus on the opportunities moving forward, then that's really helpful. Make the other person happy about doing what you suggest. My way is a good way of doing things, and it will make life easier because, and life will be better because. That's a great way to encourage them to start living a better life. If you would show up on time, then you would be far less stressed, and you wouldn't be risking getting in a car accident. You just plan to be there 5 minutes early instead of 5 minutes late. Then people won't be frustrated waiting for you. I mean, it just works out so much easier. Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, try it. These principles can be applied in every aspect of our life. So if we're trying to trying to make this happen with our family, you don't want to, well, I guess I was giving a number of examples, especially with our family. You don't want to criticize, condemn, or complain in the family, because that just lends a negative tone at home. You want to be a good listener to even to the boring things your kids are talking about. You want to be a good listener to make them feel important, and make them eager to do things to please you. Um, you want to be able to admit that you're wrong, so that there's peace in the family. And again, you want to be the leader in your family. You want to be able to be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise there as well. You've got with your friends, if you want to develop a good friendship with somebody, you want to be able to apply these principles there. You want to be able to, I mean, one of the reasons you have a friend is because they help you to become a better version of yourself, and they help you to rise to who you aspire to be. At least if you've got good friends, the good friends help you to aspire to what you want to really be as a better person. And you know, so again, you'll use these same principles in developing a quality friendship. If somebody is running you down, if somebody's constantly finding fault with you or embarrassing you, you're not going to be friends. And so a good friend, basically in life, you will probably find at most 5 good friends. And you want to nurture those friendships throughout life, because it's really hard to replace a friend that you lose. When you're meeting strangers, you know, the waiter at the restaurant, the guy at the hotel at the front desk, the person checking you in at the airport, you want to be able to work with them. You want them to help you, and they will be much more motivated to help you if you take an interest in them, and if you are positive, and if you as I forget the name of the movie, but help me help you. You want to be helpful to them so that they can be helpful to you, and that little touch of honey gathers far more than a bowl of vinegar. Since this is primarily a business program, we want to focus on how do we work effectively with our coworkers. If I'm constantly tooting my own horn and doing all the talking, people tend to start tuning me out. And so I want to be the one who listens to others. I want to be the one who tries to understand their perspective. There's a guy that I work with who he's eager to move up in the company. And so he takes every opportunity to talk and to guide the conversation. And people don't know what he's talking about. And they quickly figure out that he doesn't know what he's talking about either. And so people just kind of wait for him to run out of steam and then continue the conversation as if he hadn't said anything. And it's kind of embarrassing. He doesn't notice it. And but some people you just can't change. And I'm exercising all the leadership skills I can to try and encourage him to start doing the right things. But yeah, if you want to be able to sell your ideas to coworkers, you need to first understand what's interesting to them, what their priorities are, and then you can frame what it is you want to do in a way that meets their needs and I guess works to their advantage. It'll be to your advantage to do it this way because A, B, and C, these are the things that you said were important. So, you know, I'm just trying to help you. I'm only thinking of you, you know. Your manager, you need to be able to communicate well with your manager so that your manager knows you have their best interest in mind. Your manager, frankly, your manager doesn't care about your career. All right, that's the bottom line. Your manager cares about your manager's career. And if you can find ways to help your manager have an easier day, they will help you. And most of the manager's concern is about risk. How can I minimize the risk of this decision? Because basically they've got a budget that they have to stay within, a budget of money and a budget of time. They have to have certain things accomplished in a certain amount of time, and they have so much money to get it accomplished. And so what they want to do is, or what they want to know is, how can I get this done? And if you can be on their side, and if you can help them to get their things done and help them to look better at the next staff meeting, then then they will grease the skids for you moving forward. And they will be much more open to hearing what you want for moving forward in your career, because you have helped them first. And that's really key to growing in your career, is figuring out how to manage up, how to find out what your manager needs, and how to make sure that you're the guy who delivers that consistently. And then very similar to managers are your customers. If you're selling a product, if you can see the people in your company as customers, then you can see that you're trying to sell to them all the time, and you can see that you need to work effectively with them. Your manager is a customer of the work that you do, and has to be pleased with the quality of the work that you do. The person who uses your product that you're working on, they're a customer. They're the easiest to understand customer. But your coworkers are customers as well, as far as this is the quality of the work that I do, and I want to be able to influence the quality of the work that they do. And so I need to be able to sell them on, this is quality work, and I'm consistently delivering it. And so if you work with me, then you'll be doing quality work as well. So yeah, just and I guess this is sort of how we started the whole program, is if you can take an entrepreneurial attitude towards the work that you do, so that you own the product that you create, and you're trying to sell it to everyone who is a stakeholder in that product, then it sort of changes your mindset in how you approach everything that you do. There's some key points in the book that I want to mention is criticism. Criticism is always counterproductive. Nobody likes to be criticized. And I mean, it always feels good to criticize somebody, because I feel more important. But nobody likes to be criticized. Nobody likes a whiner. Nobody likes a complainer. So if you can look for the positive, look for a way to reframe what's going on in a positive way, then you'll you'll be able to have much more influence in the environment that you work in or in the environment that you live in. This is something that I have to remind myself all the time, is that people are emotional creatures. We don't we don't make our decisions based on logic. We think we make our decisions based on logic, but really we base our decisions on how we feel, how the other person makes us feel. And we will then go back and justify our decision with logic, but we've already made the decision based on our emotions. And then, the key to influencing others is to focus on what they want and helping them to get what they want. Zig Ziglar is a big motivational speaker, or I guess he's passed away, but his big thing is, you can get what you want if you can help enough other people get what they want. And the key is focusing on how you can help other people get what they want. And then they will usually work to help you get what you want. And finally, the secret of success. If there's one secret of success, is focusing on the other person and be able to see the world from their perspective and communicate that to them. Then they will see how brilliant you really are, and they will be more open to working with you. So my challenge to you is to go out there and make some friends and influence some people and communicate masterfully. Seriously, get that book. Or you say you already have that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Get that book and reread it at least once a year. You can highlight it and find the things that are most interesting, or make marks in the corner of the page or on the edge of the page, so you can see the summaries, or type up a summary and reread the summary once a month, just to remind yourself of the essential things that he mentions in the book, the principles that he discusses. They're really helpful. And I will have these slides up, so you'll be able to see all the principles and quickly read through them anytime you'd like. They'll be right there online. So anyhow, that's really the what I have to say today. And so, any questions, comments, insights?
I have something to say here, Scott. So
Okay.
this is amazing, and last year, one of my goals in my company was to improve my communication skills. So I think that your presentation relates directly to one of my aspirations, to become a better communicator, a good communicator. I recognize this as one of the fundamental skills for not just leaders, but for anyone who wants to have better relationship with other people, who have better interactions. And this is just fundamental, to how to improve the communication skills. And this book recommendation from Dale Carnegie is just amazing. I remember that I bought this book some years ago. I couldn't read it completely. I read only some chapters, and then I stopped it. So now listening to you, it gave me inspiration to buy again this book, because the first time that I bought, I left this book in Brazil. I didn't bring this book with me, so I will buy this book again, because it's I think the ideas and the advice that Dale Carnegie provides is timeless in helping people. And I some of the points that caused a lasting impression on me from your speech is the first about this Now, before I proceed, I just like to say that the synthesis of all that you have said, in my opinion, is that when we talk about communication, I think that the bottom line is that it is not about us; it is about other people. I think that that's the bottom line. It's about it's only about, not only, but fundamentally about other people, and paying attention and considering their concern, their interests, and it all around. It much more around other people than us. That's the first thing. And the highlights from your presentation, I think that this thing about being interested in other people, be curious. This is something that I heard from my people lead, because I remember that this is based on the questions that I shared with you, and then I think that one of the questions is. No, I remember that I was having a conversation with my tech lead, and then we were in a we were planning some activities and planning some tickets, and he was it was a very good exercise, because he led me to select some items and try to plan the work for 2 weeks before starting the quarter, you know. And I remember that during this session there was a ticket, and he came to me, and then he said, David, and the ticket was something simple. It was about refactoring some code, removing duplicate code, updating documentation, removing unused tab, things like that, you know. And then he came to me, and then he said, David, who you think would be the most adequate person in our team to work on this ticket? And then I thought, okay, wow, there's this guy. He's very senior, experienced, so he will be able to complete this ticket in a very rapidly, you know. So I think that this guy is the best one to work on this ticket. I told him, and then he said, okay, but yes, I agree with you that he'll be able to complete this ticket very fast, you know. But do you think that he will like to work on that? That he will be excited to work on that? And then I thought again, and then I said, okay, the guy is very acquainted with the code base. He knows all this stuff, you know. So yeah, probably he'll not be excited. And then he said, and what about this junior engineer, entry-level engineer? What do you think about her? And then I said, wow, I think that for her this would represent a great opportunity. I think that she would, of course, she would take more time to complete the ticket, but on the other hand, she would be much more excited to work on this ticket, to learn more and things like that, you know. And then in the end, we agreed that the entry-level engineer would be the best. But why I'm telling that? Because this episode, this situation led to a question related to how to discover other people, what people like to do, you know. Because one important aspect that my tech lead had, David, you need to try to find things that people are excited to work, things that they don't get bored. Of course, it's not always that you'll be able to do that. And then I and with this question, this thing in mind, I came to my people lead, and then I asked her, hey, how can I know what drives people, what make people feel excited, you know? And which kind of questions can I ask? Which kind of things can I say to discover that, you know? And and then he said, David, you just have to be direct. So be curious, exactly like you said, Scott. She said, David, you have to be curious. You have to be interested on them, and come to them, talk, try to discover which kind of things they like to do, technologies, things that they like to spend their time with. So by being honestly, genuinely interested in other people, you'll be able to discover what they want, what are their aspirations, what drives them, you know. And I think this is exactly related to this thing about being curious about people, and I totally agree with that. And I think this connect to the other thing that is about the relationship with coworkers, you know. And I like this thing that you says, Scott, about working in the best interest of your colleagues, not you. Okay, so it's sometimes we are thinking in our tickets, in our deliverables and our things. Oh, I needed to deliver this thing. I needed to, and then I think it's too easy, to prioritize our stuff. And of course, you have to be accountable for your things and for the stuff that you need to deliver. But I believe that if you manage it to put the interests of your coworkers and high priority and help them to achieve their goals, so I believe that you will improve the relationship and the way that you communicate with your coworkers. But all in all, I totally agree, and I think that these ideas, they are extremely important to increase the communication skills. And Scott, I have a question here. Are you going to share these slides?
Oh yes, I will put them up on the same on the website, whatever the training website.
Can I use them as a reference to, because while you were sharing, I thought in the possibility of sharing this stuff with my team.
Sure.
I'm not going to just copy, because I cannot do that, but I would create some slides, and then I would like to know if I can just use as inspiration some messages, some slides. Okay, so I'm not going to copy because I need to create something. I need to use SAP branding and all that stuff. Can I do that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not my information. It's Dale Carnegie's. So
Oh, amazing. Cool. But yeah, very nice, very good stuff. Thank you, Scott. I really like that.
How about you, Leonardo? Did you get any insights, or did it spark anything in you?
Scott, I read this book about 2 months ago, and was one of the best books I read in my life. I liked it a lot. I was planning to read again at a certain time because when I read this book, every idea in the book, I was in my mind. Oh, it's true. It will work, but when the time passed in my relationships, in my job, with friends, I observed that was not applying this in an automatic way, because I know that the concepts, I understand the concept, but at the end of the conversations, after I was talking, oh, I didn't did the best thing. I interrupted the person. Oh, I made a critic. So your advice to read the book once a year is excellent. I was planning to read again, but now with your presentation was very good, so I saved it some time to me. I will not read this month because your presentation was an excellent review, but it really is a book to read with a certain frequency. One time a year, I think it's excellent.
Yeah. As you were talking, it occurred to me that as software developers, it's easy for us to start looking for the negative, because we're constantly thinking as we're writing something, okay, what's a problem that could happen here? What could go wrong? What do I need to protect against? And so we're constantly looking for the thing that could go wrong. We're focusing on the negative in the work that we do so that we can be protected against it. And so it's very easy for us to get into, my wife has called my attention to this a couple of times. If your wife hasn't called your attention to it, I'm sure she will at some point.
Yeah.
But it's like, why are you so negative? I'm not really negative. I'm just trying to make sure that we've got everything considered. And it's like, well, the world isn't going to be falling apart. Well, but just in case it does, we need to have this ready and that ready, because that's what I do all day. but also I can see when things, I don't have a ready solution for them. I start to get very concerned and worried and that sort of thing. It's like, you know what? Going back and reviewing this book was very helpful for me in noticing that sort of thing in what I'm doing. So yeah, this was helpful for me as well.
There are another book similar to this one you can indicate to us?
Oh, are there others?
Yeah.
Well, Dale Carnegie has a second book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. It's sort of it's an addendum to this. So I mean, everything that he's written is terrific. I don't know. I've got so many books on relationships. It's been I studied to be a life coach some years ago when I was wanting to get out of doing software development because I thought I was really bad at it. And so, you know, I learned a lot about how to coach people, and that involves communicating, and that involves primarily listening and asking questions to draw out from somebody something that they already know. So yeah, the best book I had for that is called Coaching for Success, I believe, but I'll have to dig it up. It's on the other side of the room. I'll look through my library and find some of the books I have on communication, and I'll add those to the course description when I get it uploaded later.
Okay.
So that's
now
a good suggestion. I'll make a note to do that.
when I meet people that like to read, I'm starting to asking about what's the best book that you already read, and if you can share it as the best book about personal development that you read, please
Oh,
send
the best book on personal development I've got right here. Oh, I had it right here. Oh, there it is. This is far and away the best book I've read on personal development. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I didn't read it yet.
You haven't read this?
No.
Oh, this next to
read
How to
it.
Win Friends and Influence People. This is the book right here.
I will.
It condenses.
I'll write here.
Yeah, you see it says powerful lessons on personal change. So this is how to develop yourself as a person. And it's the first half of it is on how to develop yourself internally, and then the second 3 are how to develop yourself in relating to other people. And since y'all are young fathers, this has been a successful model, and they've got a number of other versions of this book, and one is the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. And I would recommend that to you as well, just, you know, as you're starting to grow your families, and it'll help you be a better father and better husband. So
thank you very much.
Something we all want to do.
I will buy one.
No hesitation. This is a great book.
Hey,
yes,
Leonardo, just one. I'd like to, in terms of communication. Last year, I read a book called Non-Violent Communication from Marshall Rosenberg. Okay, and
this book I read, excellent book.
So you're rather right. Okay, so that I think it relates to this goal of improving.
Helped me a lot.
Yes, and one thing that you said about criticism, and I totally agree, and I think that I am in the right line. is because I think that on Thursday there was a feedback workshop that we received, and because now we are in a moment in the company where we have to give this 360 feedback. So the company they hired a consulting firm to give us some training on how to give feedback, explaining the techniques and how a good feedback looks like, and some exercises. And then during this workshop, in the end, they said, "Hey, do you have any recommendation or any idea to share here?" And then I remembered this thing about criticism, and then I said, "Okay, no matter the situation, no matter the problem, do one thing: avoid at any costs to criticize or to sound or to make that your or prevent that your message is interpreted as a criticism." And sometimes that's not easy, and mainly when you have to do what they call constructive feedback, how you give because positive feedback, it's okay. It's not. I think that you can use this sandwich techniques and things like that to start with the good things, then you go to the not so nice or the things that can improve. But when you taught this area about constructive feedback or telling people how they can improve, at least for me, I think I need to be careful, how to frame the situation, how to use the right words, how to make sure that my message will not be interpreted as a criticism. So I think that is, from Dale Carnegie, this is my view, is one of the most important advice, to not to avoid at all costs criticism. I think this is something that it's an exercise, and the exercise to try to improve and try to be like that. So I can relate to to your message. Sometimes I find myself without noticing doing some kind of criticism or sending a message that has elements of criticism, and it's an important thing to be aware. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that. I will remember that too. Okay, well, that's really all I have for today, and I hope you found it helpful, and I know you have families to spend time with, so I will let you get back to your families and practice these communication skills. All right.
Right.
all right. Good. Yeah.
Okay, and we will look forward to talking to you again next week.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, David.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Scott. Thank you,
Bye.
Leonardo. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Have a nice week.